These stories coming up next on News Channel 13 Live at 11. 2 juries, 2 suspects, 1 verdict. We'll have the latest on the Eric Hendricks murder trial.
Also tonight, the body of a missing Scotiaman has been found, and we'll see who spent more on this year's political campaign, the winners or losers. News Channel 13 Live at 11 is next.
This is News Channel 13, WNYT, Albany. And now, live for the Capital Region, Ed Degg, Chris Kapostashi, Bob McNamara with sports, and meteorologist Bob Kovachick. This is News Channel 13, live at 11.
Good evening. For the second time this year, 2 Albany County juries have heard evidence in the same trial. And now those 2 juries have reached a verdict. In the murder of Eric Hendricks, Louis Peralta and Marcinia Dean are charged with shooting Hendricks execution style during a botched burglary attempt last year. John Gray standing by live at the Albany County Courthouse with the latest. John?
Well, this was a complicated case. As you mentioned, 2 separate juries, 2 separate defendants, and quite a climax here just moments ago. It was quite a thing as the verdict came in against these 2 people. This was the scene outside the courtroom as 21-year-old Marcinia Dean learned she would not be going to prison. The jury found her not guilty of murder, robbery, and reckless endangerment in the death of her boyfriend, Eric Hendricks. Her co-defendant in the case, Louis Moses Peralta, was also acquitted of murder charges, something Dean and her family could not believe.
Yes, I'm disappointed with his verdict. He should have got found guilty. Guilty, no doubt about it. 100% he was guilty. But the jury seen otherwise.
But Peralta's attorney said the DA had no case and played a game of let's make a deal with the co-defendants in the case.
There were 4 co-defendants charged with the same charges as Peralta. The DA cut a deal with each of them. Each of those received a lesser sentence in exchange for their testimony. And each of them wove a fabric of lies. God bless the jury system. The jury saw through it.
But again, and Peralta was found guilty of attempted robbery. His attorney tells me the maximum he could get for that would be 5 to 15 years. However, he plans to appeal that charge as well. What is perhaps most interesting about the case is that Marcinia Dean was in jail upwards, we're hearing, of 19 months waiting for her trial to come. She has a small child at home who she hasn't seen in that time, so she was very anxious to get home tonight.
Is she contemplating then any sort of legal action, maybe to get compensation for that time spent in jail?
We didn't ask her that at the time. I would doubt tonight she's even thinking in those terms. She's just glad to be getting home and sleeping in her own bed again. But perhaps tomorrow morning after a good night's sleep, that may be something that is brought up, and I'm sure her attorney might be talking to her about it as well.
Well, we may have just planted the seed as well. Who knows?
Maybe.
Thank you. John Gray reporting live from the Albany County Courthouse. Chris?
Let's get the latest now on what local police and fire departments are working on tonight. Here's Christina DeFranco.
Well, Chris, the Rensselaer County Sheriff's Department says they found the body of the Scotia man missing since last week. About 3:15 this afternoon, a hunter spotted the body of 23-year-old Stephen Bobick in Pittstown, about half a mile from where he was last seen. Last Wednesday, Bobick walked away from the Valley Falls construction site where he worked. At this point, it looks like a probable suicide. An autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow morning at Leonard Hospital in Troy at 11:03. That's the latest from the Operations Center.
Thank you, Christina. Gunshots fired by an Albany bar owner has led to the closing of his popular tavern. The State Liquor Authority shut down the lingerie bar 42 Eagle Street after owner David Alley fired a rifle into the bar ceiling. No one was hurt, but the State Liquor Board this week yanked the bar's license. Alley has pleaded guilty to criminal mischief and is expected to get 60 days in jail.
The middleman in the Jim Coyne bribery scheme will be sentenced in February for his role in the affair. Joseph Zumbo passed a $30,000 check from Nick Arena architect Ray Crozier to Coyne. Coyne insisted it was a loan, but a federal jury disagreed and convicted Coyne on the bribery charges, so Zumbo admitted in federal court today that he backdated the promissory note years after the fact. Zumbo now faces up to 5 years in prison. Meanwhile, Coyne is out autographing copies of his new book. The former Albany County executive was at the Amtrak station in Rensselaer today. He scheduled another autograph session at the Stuyvesant Plaza on Saturday, but Jim Coyne will report to federal prison later this month to begin serving a 3.5-year sentence.
Some interesting campaign spending news today. Unless challengers can raise as much money as incumbents, they stand almost no chance of being elected to Congress. Bill Lambdin reports that's the conclusion of a just-released study of this week's election. Bill?
Chris, as you know, Ross Perot paid a lot of attention to the effects of PACs, political action committees, during his campaign. Of course, he was rich enough to run on his own bucks. Candidates who may have something to say but don't have the bucks that their opponents may have gathered don't have a lot of chance in our system.
93% of the incumbents who ran in the general election were reelected.
SUNY Professor Michael Malbin found this was an average year for incumbents. And if one-time events like the check bouncing scandal are factored out, it turned out that this was a very good year to be an incumbent congressman running for re-election.
The main thing that distinguishes close races from not close races is the challenger. Does the challenger have resources? Is the challenger an experienced politician?
Although Dave Roberts is a Democrat, Nancy Norman a Republican, they had a common experience as challengers running for Congress. Both raised much less money than the incumbents, and each lost almost 2-1. While more money would not guarantee a more competitive race, nationwide, challengers did not succeed unless they were financially competitive.
And money will follow interest. And if people would only realize that this is not a spectator sport, this is something you have to participate in. If everybody gave just $1 to one or the other of the people they could vote for in every race, and there would have been more money in total in politics this year than you can imagine.
There is talk of some kind of campaign reform in Congress with the Democrats in control of both Congress and the presidency, but most of the talk concerns just setting an upper limit to the amount of money that a candidate can have to run the campaign. If the challenger doesn't have somewhere near that same limit, then it looks like the unequal playing field is going to continue. Chris?
Yeah, obviously a lot of people weren't satisfied with some campaign limits already in effect because so many states put term limits into effect this year.
14 states passed some kind of term limit.
Thanks very much, Bill Lambdin, live in our newsroom. And live in the Weather Center, Bob Kovachick.
Chris and Ed, some of the friends in the hill towns and mountains have seen some snow tonight. In fact, a small accumulation of snow. We'll take a better look at that, at who got what in a few moments. In fact, precipitation is now ending very quickly. Sunrise tomorrow morning, 6:36 a.m. Cloudy and 35. A bit of sunshine breaking through in the afternoon. Cold and breezy, high 40. Sunset tomorrow, 4:41 p.m. Lots of sun on Saturday, believe it or not. More on the forecast in a few minutes. Chris and Ed.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Still to come, we will see why local motorists should be prepared to open their wallets.
And we'll have an important warning for anyone who is planning to drive to Florida this fall.
News Channel 13 is sponsored in part by the 9X family of companies and by Hoffman's Limited.
The American Automobile Association, AAA, tonight making an unprecedented warning, telling tourists headed to Jacksonville, Florida, to stay off Interstate 295. Brian Cabell tells us why.
For snowbirds headed south, it is one of the gateways to Florida. I-295, a seemingly innocuous bypass around Jacksonville, but no more.
There's been reports of snipers on 295. Just for your safety, we can take you right through instead of around.
That's the new advisory, the new warning from the American Automobile Association.
AAA Florida has issued an advisory, which is advising motorists and AAA members to avoid Interstate 295 in the Jacksonville area when driving into the state of Florida.
3 dozen incidents of sniper and rock-throwing attacks along 295 since February prompted the warning. One motorist died in a rock-throwing incident. His car, which swerved off the road, wasn't discovered for a few months. One other motorist was injured.
It's a problem. It's a serious problem, and we're serious about it, but we don't want people to be unnecessarily panicked.
The warning could not have come at a much worse time for the tourism industry here. First, there was Hurricane Andrew just a couple of months ago, and now this, at the start of the winter tourist season. Hotels, restaurants, and gas stations on 295 haven't felt the pinch yet, but they know it's coming with the publicity of the AAA warning.
I believe that they have a obligation to their members, and if anybody's put in harm's way, I believe that they have an obligation to let them know.
41 million tourists visit Florida every year, and the word is now getting out to them.
There's Jacksonville. There's your 295. Where is your sniper? It's on 295.
Brian Cabell, CNN, Jacksonville, Florida.
The government is cracking down on automobile emissions in an effort to reduce air pollution. The EPA requiring a new testing program in 177 urban areas, including Albany, Schenectady, Troy, and Glens Falls. Government officials estimate that 1 out of every 5 vehicles will need repair work to meet the emission standards. They say the cost could range from $30 to $120 per automobile.
By using advanced, high-technology testing procedures, states and localities can require a test every 2 years instead of once a year, as is the case in most current programs. Streamlined, sophisticated test stations can measure a vehicle's emissions in about 10 minutes. That's about the time it takes to get a car wash.
The new inspection and maintenance rules are part of the 1990 Clean Air Act. They will take effect in January of 1995.
Don't know if it's related to clean air, but the rate of asthma has been on the rise in recent years. And tonight, Health Matters reporter Benita Zahn is here with some unbelievable story of how hard hit our kids are.
Chris, actually, the figures are staggering. A new study says that childhood asthma causes 10 million missed days of school a year and 200,000 hospitalizations. The researchers say asthma is the most common chronic childhood disease and the leading cause of lost school days. And the number of kids affected is on the rise. In 1981, more than 3 kids under age 18 suffered asthma, 3 out of every. You get the gist here. In 1988, the last year study, the numbers rose to 4.3. But no one's sure why asthma is on the rise. And on Monday from 6:30 to 8:30, the MVP Health Exchange on State Street in Schenectady will offer a program on understanding asthma. Call 374-5669 to register. Another ailment on the rise is kidney disease linked to diabetes. The Centers for Disease Control say it increased 6-fold during the 1980s, hitting the elderly and blacks hardest. While an estimated 6.5 million Americans were diagnosed with diabetes in 1989, it's thought another 3 million are undiagnosed. So the CDC is pushing for better screening. With early detection and proper treatment, kidney disease can be controlled. To prevent it from advancing to severe stages, patients control hypertension, blood sugar levels, and urinary tract infections. And in tonight's Health Matters calendar, Leonard Hospital's offering a cholesterol screening at the Northway Mall. Friday from noon to 7 and Saturday from 10 to 5. There is a small fee for that. On Tuesday, top area chefs will cook up a feast to raise money for the Ferrano Center for Children, many of whom are suffering AIDS. The event's set for 6:30 at the Century House in Latham, and call Century House for reservations. Also Tuesday, there'll be a bone marrow screening for a recent Niskayuna High grad. The screening takes place at the Niskayuna High's old cafeteria from 2:30 to 5. That chef cooking thing sounds good. Maybe I can...
Oh, I saw the menu. This looks fabulous.
I may have to cover it.
Good idea, Benita.
And bring some back.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. 300 women packed the ballroom at the Albany Marriott tonight. They were bidding for a date with one of the Capital Region's most eligible bachelors. The highest bidders not only win the chance to meet someone new, they also win trips to sunny Jamaica, Stratton Mountain, or Montreal. This was the 7th annual bid for bachelors, and it benefits the March of Dimes.
Is that anything like Montreal?
Montreal. Well, Montreal is, if you're a Canadiens fan,
you and Governor Cuomo were talking French today.
Yeah, but he did a better job.
Meteorologist Bob Kovachick. Can you speak French, Bob?
No.
No way. He's standing by with the full forecast in English.
Talking about snow and cold, words we understand well. We'll have details right after this. To Bob and the weather, and we've just learned that Bob took Italian in high school, so we expect the whole weather forecast in Italian.
You do, huh?
Do you know the Italian word for snow?
No, I was trying to think of it, and I can't remember. Do you?
Rain, sun, wind.
Snow. Well, I know Bianco, or Bianca is white.
Yeah.
Is that close enough?
I don't know. You know, the Eskimos have over 100
You know that from
words.
drinking wine. Come on.
Eskimos have over 100 words in their language for snow.
Really?
Oh.
100 words.
What else are they going to describe?
What else do they talk about up there? Hey, it's snowing again. A little snow around our area tonight, Chris and Ed. The hill towns have had a little coating of snow at the airport, 37. A little light rain, a little wet snow at 11 o'clock. Obviously, with those kind of temperatures, it's not sticking. We've had 0.4 of an inch of rain, a trace of snow. Our high for the day, 50. Low so far, 37. Winds blowing southwest at 6, humidity at 92, and the dew point at 35. Precipitation winding down and moving out of the area very quickly now, but I had a report of about 1 inch of snow at Grafton, ½ inch of snow in Averill Park. Also westbound, still a little light snow around Altamont. An inch of snow near Duanesburg. In fact, the roads are slippery out along 7 and 20 between Duanesburg and Central Bridge. They had an inch and a half of snow there, an inch of snow up around Canada Lake, and an inch of snow down in parts of the western Catskills. But precipitation now moving quickly out of the area. Still a little light rain and snow mixture from Glens Falls to Albany. Rain into New England, but westbound precipitation has basically quit for the most part. Temperatures chilly, damp in the 30s. And by and large, if it has not quit at your house yet, it will over the next hour or so. Let's check the radar, and it's kind of really shrunk down in the area of green since about 9:30 or 10 o'clock. Still a mixture of rain and wet snow in the eastern portions of the Hudson Valley, down into Columbia County, on to Dutchess County, Ulster County, over to northwestern Connecticut. All precipitation is just kind of falling apart, shrinking up, and moving away. It'll be out of here in the next hour or two at the most, so any further accumulation in the hills and mountains are pretty much over. National weather scene, we see still lots of clouds in the area, the main storm passing on by, but look at this back to the west, still lots and lots of gray cloudiness, pretty heavily overcast, so any sunshine tomorrow will be pretty tough to find. We may have a little sunshine in the afternoon as the clouds gradually begin to break up, but I think lots of clouds will be the rule on Friday. Breezy and cold, temperatures may be hard-pressed to reach 40. Series of storms that have been kind of moving up over the area much of the week, now moving away. 3 inches of snow in Youngstown, Ohio. Record warmth in Florida, the nation's high. 91 at Fort Myers and West Palm Beach this afternoon. But chilly air plunging to the Texas coast, and chilly air headed on in here for the weekend. Forecast in a moment. Overnight low tonight, mid-30s, 34. Rain, sleet, and snow now pretty much over, ending very quickly on radar. And that small accumulation in the hills and mountains, so whatever you have on the ground, that'll be about it. In fact, most of it will probably melt by morning. For tomorrow, around 40 for a high, lots of clouds, perhaps a little sun, breezy and cold, even a flurry in the hills and mountains tomorrow. Even colder tomorrow night, but finally we clear out, low 26. The weekend should bring us a good deal of sunshine. Sun on Saturday, 37. Sun on Sunday, high 35. Sunny on Monday, and then clouds come in on Tuesday. 3 or 4 cold days, but I think it'll warm up again Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. That's it. I'd forgotten that Italian. Boy, oh boy.
All those food names, I'll bet you remember.
Food names are very important.
Linguini. I bet somebody calls and tells us.
They will, I bet. It's the word for snow in Italian.
All right.
We'll find out.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. Coming up next, Max spans the sports world with news about hockey and baseball and college football.
Then later on, a building that stands as a symbol for civil rights is about to fall to a wrecking ball.
Ex-RPI great Joe Juneau and the Boston Bruins continue to just frustrate the Nordiques.
How about Quebec coming in the Boston Garden and losing, or not losing, but non-winning situations 20 consecutive times?
It's great. They're in Montreal's division. It's fine.
Boston absolutely owns that club. Quebec hasn't won at the Garden, listen to this, since way back in 1987. And tonight, boy, it was really gnawing on Quebec. Get a load of the move Juneau puts on the defense here as he goes right in on Hextall for the goal. He made an absolute fool out of that fella. And Hextall wasn't too pleased either. In fact, as you can see, he took a few punches at Juneau. Juneau can frustrate you. He is that good. This was Juneau's 6th goal of the season. He has 18 points, 2 behind teammate and fellow former RPI great Adam Oates. So the final 6-4. Oates, by the way, also had a goal tonight. Meantime, Mario Lemieux again, a goal and 3 assists. He has 42 points now, believe it or not. Pittsburgh 8-4 over St. Louis. Meantime, Minnesota shuts down the Islanders, and in the 3rd period, Chicago clinging to a tenuous 1-0 lead over Toronto. The top-ranked college football team in the land could be in big trouble tonight. The University of Washington is investigating a report that multi-talented quarterback Billy Joe Hobart here accepted $50,000 in so-called loans. The Seattle Times says Hobart got the money from an Idaho businessman and blew it all in 3 months of cars, guns, stereo equipment, golf clubs, and parties. Washington acknowledges it could well be in violation of the NCAA rules. So much so, in fact, in the end, this indiscretion could really mar one of the greatest seasons in that school's history. Former Major League pitcher Rod Scurry, who spent most of his career as a reliever with the Pirates, died today at age 36. He was haunted by drug problems. And Cito Gaston, the manager of the world champion Toronto Blue Jays, a most happy fella tonight. He was rewarded today with a new 3-year deal that now makes him one of the highest paid skippers in baseball. Interesting, before the World Series, there were reports that Cito Gaston would have been fired if his team had not won. And Don Mattingly of the Yankees named winner of another Golden Glove today. He now has 7 of them and back-to-back honors. Mattingly also won consecutive Gold Gloves between 85 and 89. The Siena College basketball team opening in just 12 days at nationally ranked Florida State. That's going to be a tough one. But on the upside, this should be one of Mike Dean's better teams, and Mike Brown is back. Rodger has the story.
After a redshirt year in which he recovered from back surgery, Mike Brown is healthy again, and that picture-perfect jump shot is just what the Saints lacked a year ago.
Not that I'm flattered, but I like the fact that, you know, that I'm going to be an important part of this team. Now, if every shot I take doesn't go down, I don't think that's a crisis. I'm going to keep shooting them. That's just the mentality I have.
Shooting is Brown's biggest weapon, but it's certainly not his only one.
He's now a complete player. He can defend. He's a good passer. His ball handling's no longer suspect, but an asset, and he has an ability to score in traffic and finish around the basket.
In Loudonville, Rodger Wyland, News Channel 13.
You know the way I look at the Florida State game?
How do you look at the Florida State game?
They have absolutely nothing
to lose.
No.
Can they win?
I'll have to think about that.
Possible.
Anything's possible.
Okay. Well, we will be right back to update tonight's top story.
And Bob Kovachick will not only update the forecast, he'll tell us the Italian word for snow.
It's 11:31, time to check up on tonight's top story. For the second time this year, 2 Albany County juries have heard evidence in the same trial. Tonight, those juries reached a surprising verdict in the murder of Eric Hendricks. John Gray is at the Albany County Courthouse with more.
I think I finally caught my breath. That quite a case here. You had, as you mentioned, 2 different juries, 2 different defendants, and really quite a scene after that verdict came in. Now, the young girl being hugged there is 21-year-old Marcina Dean. She was just found not guilty of murdering her boyfriend, Eric Hendricks, in his South Albany home. Now, her co-defendant in the case, Luis Peralta, was also found not guilty of murder, 2 separate murder charges, but he was found guilty of attempted robbery. The attorney for Peralta says he is going to appeal that charge. He also is somewhat critical of the district attorney's office, saying that he put a lot of co-defendants on the stand trying to play let's make a deal, cutting plea bargains to get his man behind bars, but it may not be working because he was found not guilty of the lesser charges.
And there's the tragic aspect you told us earlier, 19 months in jail, found guilty of nothing.
Yes.
Thank you. John Gray live. Chris.
Let's check in again now with Christina DeFranco in the News Channel 13 Operations Center.
The Wyland Fire Department is at the scene of a chimney fire on Van Wert Court. There's a chance that the fire could spread through the wall, so the fire department is standing by in case it gets worse. At 11:32, that's the latest from the Operations Center.
Thank you, Christina. Tomorrow morning's Times-Union newspaper will report that Rensselaer County Democratic Chairman Edward McDonough will undergo surgery tomorrow. He will recuperate at his home in Florida and may stay there. The paper says he may decide to resign as the party chairman. The TU also has a story about a 33-year-old area carpenter who was sent to jail for burglarizing area homes to support a drug habit. He entered so many homes that he couldn't remember the addresses. There's also a story about a rock-throwing incident on I-890. The latest incident involves a rock thrown from a Hewlett Street bridge through the windshield of a van and a school bus.
Finally tonight, a movie based on the life of Malcolm X is about to be released in theaters across the country, but a real-life drama involving the late civil rights leader is also being played out in New York City. Kevin Rowson reports.
In less than 2 weeks, Spike Lee's biographical movie Malcolm X opens, resurrecting the civil rights leader's life. Only weeks after the opening, the controversy surrounding a real part of Malcolm X's history will end. Despite efforts to save it, most of the Audubon Theater and ballroom where the civil rights leader was gunned down was torn down. But the building's facade, lobby, and a rotting second-floor ballroom will be restored as a memorial to Malcolm X. The compromise plan will be part of a $34 million joint project of the city, state, and Columbia University to build a research lab. For opponents of the plan, a compromise is not enough.
This project is a desecration of the legacy of Malcolm X and points to the continuing impotence of African Americans to control their destiny at all in any meaningful way.
More jobs for a distressed neighborhood may ease some bad blood that has grown over the past 10 years. The project has been entangled in the courts. The Save the Audubon Coalition argues the biotechnical research lab may present a health hazard to the neighborhood. Though protests are expected, the city says raising of the building will proceed and construction of the new facility will begin next spring. In Washington Heights, Kevin Rosen, News 4, New York.
To Bob with the Arrivederci forecast.
Arrivederci. We got to remember neve. We've got a lot of calls, N-E-V-E, the word for snow in Italian. No snow tomorrow, cloudy, breezy, chilly, mid to upper 30s tomorrow morning, cloudy much of the day, sunshine, cold and dry, Saturday and Sunday. You learned a little bit of everything here on News Channel 13.
Whether you want to or not.
Just thinking that. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Good night.